Hello, hello. Welcome to the live video. Let me just hook up Instagram as always. One sec. No such thing as comfort food. Interesting. Provocative, maybe. We're going to talk about this interesting topic today. Let me just hook this up. This takes 1 second. Edit. Add Instagram. Put the key in, save changes, and then go live. Okay, guys, I see a couple comments here. I got Lori, and I've got Esther, and I got Teresa. Hello, my friends. I'm so glad to see you. How come Instagram won't go live? What is going on? There we go. Okay. All right. Where are y'all watching from? What's going on? Okay, let's see what Lori had to say here on YouTube. She says, can't wait to hear your thoughts, Sherry. For me, comfort food ends up being a nemesis for me, an excuse. And while I'm reading these first comments, guys, let me know in the comment section, what are your favorite comfort foods and when do you go to them? Like, what circumstances have you start eating comfort foods? Let me know. Okay, good. Thank you, Jackie, and thank you for Melissa for letting me know that it's working on Facebook. I really appreciate that. Lori says, and stressing out at work at the moment, comfort food? No, but 5 minutes stress eating sounds great. However, I'm aware those 5 minutes come with hours of guilt. I hear you. Yeah, we've talked about that before, haven't we? And Esther says, I'm desperate. I don't know how to stop binge eating. You are in the right place, my friend. Welcome, Esther. Teresa's at her dining table in Hayward, California. So glad to see you, dear. Okay, so let me know in the comment section, what are your go-tos when it comes to which foods you eat and why. Let me know about that. And you guys can tell I just got out of the shower. That's why I was a little bit late having my smoothie here. So I'm going to get into this topic with you. Actually, I realized my kids took my iPad. Give me 1 second. Comment there while I look for my iPad real fast. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. Sorry. I had all my notes here. And of course, it was in the other room. So we have, let's see. Okay, Teresa says comfort foods, no, more like family favorites at parties food. Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense. Terry says creamy, salty peanut butter. Absolutely, I'm a fan of that as well. Eileen says ice cream and chocolate for sure. And Teresa says foods like holiday foods and favorites are coming. Absolutely, apple pie, stuffing, bread. Yeah, I totally hear you. Okay, so here's what's interesting. First of all, if you guys are watching the replay, comment replay and say hello to me. Let me know where you're watching from. Thank you for watching the replay. And let me get to my notes. Okay, so there's no such thing as comfort food. Now, y'all just listed some comfort foods, and so I know that you do believe that there are comfort foods. And for our current definition of comfort food, what might we say comfort foods are? We would say they are foods that we go to in order to get some comfort, right? So maybe we're feeling stressed or tired, and we just want to be comforted. I was speaking with a client the other day, last week actually, about the whole fall stuff that's coming up, right? We've got pumpkin spice here again, fall's coming. We've got that warm, cozy feeling. And so I want to talk a little bit about the idea of comfort food and why there is no such thing. Okay, so I think I'll use the board. I was going to hook up my iPad, but I think I'll just use the board. It'll be easier that way. So we say this idea of comfort food. Comfort. And Teresa, I was thinking about your definition too of holidays. It's actually when you say that doesn't feel comforting, that, that's not comfort food. Well, actually, it probably is comfort food when you actually think about comfort food. Being with family, that fall idea, the holidays, that's sort of a warm, I mean, it might not be comfort, but it could be comforting, this idea of familial love, right? So I always mention this idea of the spectrum of emotions. You've got positive emotions, you've got negative emotions, and you have neutral emotions. So the negative ones we're always hearing about, anxiety, stress, loneliness, sadness, etc. So we always talk about emotional eating or comfort eating in order to feel happier about these feelings, right? But we often don't talk about the positive emotions that lead to overeating as well, or binge eating or whatever. So one of them is familial love, or any kind of love, celebration, these kinds of feelings of like social community. These, do you know what I'm saying? Like those feelings of being part of something or whatever. It may be comforting to react to those feelings and actually use food in order to make ourselves feel better, right? Teresa. So funny. She says, I love how you're just a real person. I just jumped out of the shower and then jumped online and then go ahead and find her iPad and come back to people who are, yeah. It's what we got to do, right? That's right. It's a belonging feeling. Okay, so we're going to put that feeling there for you, Teresa. Belonging. This marker's going out. This feeling of belonging, the feeling of being with the tribe, right? And especially on the holidays, we kind of are invoking that because maybe we haven't seen people for a little while, but now all of a sudden we're all going to get together and we're going to eat some things that were familiar to us, blah, blah, blah. And so that we kind of get that comforting, safe feeling. Okay. So when we talk about overeating because of these things, we're talking about emotional eating, really. So let's take Teresa's example specifically of the belonging feeling. Yeah, Lori, I do know you well. Yours is tortillas. I do happen to know that about you. So comfort foods can be a celebration, connections with friends, things like that. Exactly. Okay, now I want to take that specific example, Teresa, of did you give? Yeah. Okay. So you said holiday foods and favorites like apple pie, stuffing, and bread, and you put bread in capital letters. Okay. So let's talk about. Um, that's right. That's okay. So you can kind of see where I'm going, Teresa. One season a year, foods creates, and I have to eat them. Kind of a feeling. Absolutely. So let's talk about those in particular. And apple pie, stuffing, bread makes me think of Thanksgiving, right? And that's the first big one we got coming up. So let's talk about that Thanksgiving idea. And if we're talking about comfort foods, foods that are comforting, that have always comforted us, let's go with the bread one and the stuffing. We've got that real carby kind of thing that maybe you say once a year. I feel like I have to have them. Okay, I have to have them. Why? Tell me why, Teresa. What is it about them that you feel like this very strong, I have to have them feeling? So we're looking at sort of that feeling as like a urge or a craving, a very strong one, right? Feeling, this is your thought and you're feeling, why is this tipping so much? I don't know. It is what it is. Okay. So you get a really strong craving. Why do you feel like I have to have them? What is it about them that feels so strong for you that you feel like you need to have them, right? So we could say that the circumstance perhaps is holidays or Thanksgiving, right? I have to have them. Why? What is it about them that makes you feel like you have to have them? And so when we talk about comfort food or whatever, we're talking about I need to make those feelings feel better, whatever those feelings are. Or in the case of the positive feelings, I need to augment that and I want to make that even better, right? Yes, I get to be with my family, but also I get to have the food and I get to have this big like blah kind of a thing. Okay, so you say comfort, exactly, right? The smell of fresh baked apple pie ties into warm feelings, nostalgia, miss my mom, my childhood memories. Okay, you just made my point for me and I'm going to explain this. Okay, this is so good. Now, when we talk about there's no such thing as comfort food, why? Because I'm going to just illustrate, I have to have them. It's this urge craving. because what you said was it's nostalgia. It makes me miss my mom. Childhood memories. Now, we might not all have the same exact experience as Teresa as far as family goes, but I'm going to put nostalgia right here as the feeling, right? Now, I miss my mom, childhood memories. We might not have all the same reasoning as to why we sort of want to have those foods, but when we think just about comfort foods, the foods themselves are not comforting. It's our thoughts about the foods that are comforting. Okay, so I'm going to put bread, apple pie in the circumstance area because we have those on Thanksgiving. It is not the actual foods themselves that are comforting. It is our thoughts about the foods. Because notice when I said to you, Teresa, why do you feel like you have to have them? It's because you want this connection, right? You want this connection to your mom. It's like not only do you have thoughts and feelings about loving your mom and missing your mom, but you also want to use the apple pie to augment those feelings and thoughts. And what's interesting is that you actually believe it is the apple pie that is causing those feelings. Yet it's not the apple pie. It's your thoughts about your mom and your thoughts about that time in your life. And of course, we know what happens intellectually is that over the years, just like Pavlov's dog, Pavlov's dog was a scientific experiment back in the day where a Russian scientist named Pavlov would train dogs to salivate at the sound of a bell. So he would ring a bell, put food in front of them, they would eat. Later on, ring a bell, put food in front of them, they would eat. Later on, ring a bell, do this enough so that when they started, like later on, when they heard the bell, they would start to salivate thinking they were going to get food, right? So it's not the sound of the bell that causes salivation. It's the dogs thinking that the bell means salivation, means food's coming, right? So it's not the apple pie that's actually causing this for you. It's what you have made apple pie mean over the years. Now, here's the example that I want to give you, okay? So the idea is that food in itself is actually not comforting. It's not the food that's comforting. I'm going to give you guys an example here, and I'll show you a picture of it. I want you to look at this food. Okay. This food is a Japanese comfort food. Okay. It's called omorise, I think they call it, or something like that. It's basically an omelet with ketchup flavored rice inside. Interesting, huh? So this is a Japanese comfort food. I actually did some research on various cultures' comfort foods. And this one came up in Japan. Here's another one that comes up for India. It's called khichdi or khichdi, I think they also call it. It's actually very delicious. I've had it before. It's rice and lentils cooked in maybe a chicken broth or a vegetable broth, and then there's some vegetables in there as well. It's really, really delicious. This is actually one of the first foods that they would feed a baby when they go to feed a baby who's just, starting to eat. Then here's an interesting one. Not sure if this looks very appetizing to you. This is fisherman's soup. This is a Hungarian comfort food. The reason I know about this one is a Google search, but also reminded me that my ex-husband, this used to be his comfort food. This is something they would serve on Christmas. Hungary is not the most, rich country in the world. And so they use a lot of just humble ingredients. They would make a stew from whatever's left of the fish bones. This is also a Russian comfort food as well. And then throw some peppers in there, a ton of paprika. That's what makes it so orange. And this is a comfort food for them. So I want to ask you the question, when you see these three comfort foods here, we have omorise, khichdi, and halasle is what it's called in Hungary. Do these foods look comforting to you, especially the halasli, the fish stew, the fish soup. Let me know in the comment section what you think about these particular foods. When you think comfort food, is this what comes to mind? Now, I've already asked you the question. Let's see, what were the things that we said? Tortillas, Lori. Teresa's is apple pie and stuffing. Eileen says ice cream and chocolate. Terry Marie says creamy, salty peanut butter. So interesting, because so it's interesting that, yeah, so Jackie says no comforting thoughts or feelings here when we look at these foods, right? They don't actually look that comforting to me. Those foods do not look comforting to me. Lori says the fish stew looks yummy and green foods are also comforting for me. So that's very interesting. But what I want to point out here is that we all have different opinions about this, right? So those foods do not look comforting to me. They seemed interesting. But when I think of comforting, I think of the holiday treats my mother would make, and now the ones I'm making with my grandkids. Right. Okay. So what I want to point out, though, is that it's not the foods that are comforting. They are not doing that. Do you notice this? It's not the foods that are doing that. It's your brain that's doing that. Your brain is thinking that those foods are comforting. And we know this to be a fact because if foods were just comforting, everyone would say that all three of these foods look comforting to them, right? It is not the foods that are comforting. It is what we have made them mean and what we have associated with them over the years. Does that make sense, you guys? Comment and let me know what you're thinking about this. That's right, Lori. So that's so good. I can smell a candle that brings that same comfort and it's calorie free. Yes, exactly. Now I cook galore starting the end of October through New Year's. I'm salivating just thinking about what I'm going to cook. Yes, right. So you're salivating thinking of memories. It's the memories and the things that we have attached to this food that actually make it. So I want to say, the point I'm trying to make is that foods do not create comfort. I'm going to say it again. For those in the back, foods do not create comfort. Our thoughts create comfort. If foods created comfort, fish stew would look comforting to everybody on this call. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Makes sense. Makes sense. So it's the feelings that go with the food. That's right, Melissa. It's the feelings. And if we look at the model, and by the way, this model is not something that's new, right? Just because I learned this model in my life coaching school doesn't mean that it's something that just came up in the last 5 years or whatever. This model has been used for thousands and thousands of years. Stoicism, ancient Roman Stoicism, it's the same exact thing. When you look back at so many different texts and things like that, in the early 1900s, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, blah, blah, blah. Your thoughts are actually creating the rest of your experiences. So this is not new. This is human psychology. This is how humans work, right? Our thoughts and what we have thought repeatedly over the years about these foods is what has created a feeling of nostalgia. But just like halasli, a Hungarian fisherman's stew, fisherman's soup, is not comforting to most of us. Apple pie is also not comforting to many people, like French people or Japanese people, I'm sure, as they're born. It's not the foods that actually do it. They wouldn't think that, macaroni and cheese, whatever, they wouldn't think that that's comforting, okay? So what I'm saying is there's no such thing as comfort food. There's only thoughts that create comfort. And I'm going to give you another example. I was working with a client. Actually, let me close my door because my husband is on the phone. Okay, so I was working with a client years ago. And those of you who are in the family currently might remember this. It was a long time ago. That was just one of the first few calls that we did. I was coaching this particular client on wine and having wine in order to relax, right? She was like, I really love to have wine every week on Fridays because it makes me relax. So I thought, okay, let's actually talk about that. Let's challenge that a bit. So we started talking through, and see if you guys can get to this answer before I say it, and say it in the comment section if you can. So we were talking about wine, and wine creates relaxation. So her thought was something like wine we'll say helps me relax on the after work. So what was happening then was she was having a craving for wine on Friday nights. And then she would always end up having wine because she thought it was really important. Okay. So wine helps me relax after work. So what we did, now if you can get this before I say it in the comment section. What we did was I said, when is the moment that you actually, like when is the second that you actually start feeling comfort? Now I'm going to give you guys some choices here. So it was, finish work, decide to have some wine, go pick out the wine bottle, open up the bottle, take the cork out, get the glass, pour the wine, and drink the wine. All of those are your choices, okay? When was the exact moment where she started to feel relaxed? Was it, now we know wine is a depressant for the nervous system, right? So it actually does technically make you feel relaxed, but that's later. It takes a while for that to absorb, right? Okay, so here's some thoughts. So Lori says, as soon as the thought enters her mind that she's going to have it. Okay, that's one choice. Yolanda says, as soon as the work is done. Okay, and Teresa says, for me, maybe it would be the sound of the wine hitting the glass. Okay, cool. Great thoughts here, guys. So what did we come to with this particular client? And Jackie says, as soon as she leaves work. Okay, so think about that time period here. And Carrie says, smelling the wine. Thank you, family members, for joining in. And Lori, it's so good to see you guys. Okay, so this story here of when does she actually get relaxed? Now, if we know that our thoughts actually create our feelings, when did the relaxation hit? And I asked her this in a very nonchalant way, like, when is the actual moment where you start to feel relaxed? And she realized it had nothing to do with the wine and everything to do with the decision to have the wine, right? Because she's thinking wine helps me relax. So then when she decides to have wine, oh, that's when she starts to relax, right? So I'm going to agree with Jackie, with Yolanda, and Lori in this instant. It's the moment you decide to have it or the moment you decide to relax. That's when you start to relax. So yes, you're going to get some actual relaxation when the wine kicks in chemically, but your actual physical, emotional relaxation comes in when you decide to have the thing or when you decide to relax. So I was talking with another client just last week about same exact idea. It wasn't wine, but it was dinner. She really appreciates making dinner and having that routine, except it was making her overeat a little bit. And so we decided to look at the same way. When is the moment where you start to relax after work? And she realized it was the moment she shut her laptop, right? It was the moment that she was done with work. That's when relaxation, sort of chain of emotions, started clicking off in her body, that she was, oh, now I'm starting to relax because I don't have to do work anymore. What I want to point out to you guys, and the main point that I'm trying to get across, is that it's never the wine or the food or the fish soup or the omelet with ketchup, rice in it, or anything like that. It's like a teddy bear, right? For a kid. It's not the teddy bear that's the comfort. It's thinking that the teddy bear is protecting the kid, right? It's not the actual teddy bear. And I'll tell you, my kids have so many different stuffed animals and they all have been their favorite. And it takes like 2 days to find a new favorite, right? It's not the actual animal itself or the food. It's the feeling that you decide to have. So when you close your laptop and you go, oh, time to relax, I'm done with work, you have just created all the relaxation that you need. And you can continue to create relaxation just with your thoughts. Okay, so it's not the food. Now, I just want you guys to go into this holiday season or any social event that you have, just thinking a little bit differently. Start to play with this idea in your mind. Is it actually the food that's the important? Is it the bread? Is it the chewiness of the bread? Or have I associated those things with familial love or comfort or things like that? Okay, that's right, Yolanda. Okay, so she says, now that you've mentioned it, yep, when I decide I'm going to have it. And what's so beautiful about that, Yolanda, is you can decide to be relaxed whenever you want. You don't need food or wine to do that, right? Okay. Yeah, Lori says, I talk about margaritas often and it makes me feel good. I haven't had one in over a year. Exactly, right? Like, ooh, I'm a party girl. I feel so relaxed, but there's no, I'm like, I'll have my smoothie now. Mm. Okay. So let's see. That's right, Terry. So fish stew, Hispanic culture makes this, and the Indian dish, absolutely. Russian culture, a lot of Eastern European cultures have the fish stew. And so that would be a very comforting thing to them, but not to us. So we know it's kind of all in our head. Okay. Right. As Melissa said, it is the feelings that go with the food that we have attributed to this. Let's see what else we've said. Yes. And this is good to hear when it comes to missing a loved one as well. So we talk about Teresa and her idea of missing mom. Now, the feeling that we have when we miss mom, this nostalgia, this familial love kind of a feeling, comes from your thoughts about mom, not apple pie, right? It comes from your thoughts about the holiday events that she was a part of, that she brought you into as a kid, right? So perhaps her baking of apple pie, or teaching you how to make apple pie, or the bread or the stuffing or whatever. Being with mom is what created that nostalgia and that feeling. It's your love of your mom that actually creates the missing her. It's not the food, right? So what we can say then is, if we say, oh, I love, like, let's pretend our thought is, and I'll see if I can find one, maybe that Teresa said specifically, but I'll make it up. So we'll put our circumstance as apple pie. And we could say, I love apple pie because it makes me feel closer to mom, who is no longer with us, right? Who no longer here. Okay. So I love apple pie because it makes me feel closer to mom. Now that we've kind of deconstructed this a little bit, what we realize is not the apple pie that's making you feel closer to mom. It's the thoughts and feelings that you have attributed to Thanksgiving that make you feel closer to mom. And just like with the wine example, it's not the pie that does it, it's your thoughts that do it, that make you feel close to mom, right? And this is the good news, because if it's your thoughts that are causing you to overeat, right? So then, say your feeling is nostalgia and your action is eat too much. And say, and then say our result is like every holiday season, we gain weight. If we break this down and we see the reason we're eating too much is because we're thinking apple pie is making us feel closer to mom, but it's not the apple pie. Also, I want you to ask yourself, let's imagine a piece of apple pie, right? You've got what, maybe 8 or 10 bites in a piece of pie, okay? 8 or 10 bites in a piece of pie. What is the best bite? It's the first one, right? Maybe this corner piece or something. And then maybe the next 2 or 3 bites are pretty freaking awesome too, right? Set some stuff off. You're really excited. It's delicious. And then you just keep going because there's more pie there, but they're not as good as that first bite, right? So I wonder if we can just use the drug of the pie for just the first few bites, just have a little bit of it. And as we're sitting there having the bite, we take that first bite and we go, oh, this reminds me of mom. This is so good. I love this. I really miss her. And this apple pie isn't going to do anything else for me but that. And that's enough. I don't need anything else. I'm good. Right? I'll just have a few bites. I'll be in that nostalgic moment and I'll be done. Why do we need to overeat in order to feel something on the holidays? So the thing is like, if our sentence was, apple pie makes me feel closer to my mom, I just wonder if that's true. Maybe the first few bites, right? If you decide to put those things together, apple pie and mom, maybe the first few bites, maybe we have a couple of bites in her honor or something, and we sit there and we notice her and we think about her and we enjoy our memories of her in that moment. But just like with the wine, it's not the apple pie doing it, it's what you're thinking while you eat the apple pie. So if you know that it's just your thoughts about the situation, let's say you think to yourself, gosh, I love apple pie so much. and I have a hard time, I love apple pie so much. We'll just take that sentence, very basic sentence. We always want to ask, is this sentence true? Now I'm going to say no for you because I know it's not true, because you don't love the after effects of eating too much apple pie. And also, apple pie, stuffing, all these things, and the stories that we have associated to these foods make us overeat those foods. And also, it's culturally acceptable to it's not even acceptable, it's encouraged to overeat on these holiday seasons, right? Oh, everyone else does it, so I probably will too, or whatever. If we go into it thinking, gosh, I just love apple pie so much, I can't not have it. What I would like for you guys to do is I would like for you to start having apple pie right now in September, or start having it in June, right? I would like for you to start having all of these foods that seem so amazing to you this week, right? Anyone can go buy a box of stovetop stuffing and a turkey and go make a turkey in June. Like, you can do that, right? Anyone can pick up an apple pie from a diner any time of the year. These are not scarce foods. But when you put nostalgia with foods that you're thinking are scarce, you're for sure going to overeat them, right? But when we make these foods not so interesting by realizing that we can literally have stuffing, apple pie, bread in 10 minutes if we wanted, by just hopping in our car and going and buying some, right? Any thoughts about this? Let's see. Isn't this working? Okay. Yeah. So allow the nostalgia, allow the thoughts to enter in, breathe in, allow them to flow out, walk away from the pie. And you can have a couple bites of pie. A couple bites of pie is really not going to hurt, And for the woman who in the beginning, let me see, Esther, she says, I'm desperate, don't know how to stop binge eating. This is actually sort of part of it, okay? The idea is we binge because we think we shouldn't have that food. So for instance, on Thanksgiving, we eat way too much because we think that food is not going to be around. We only have apple pie on Thanksgiving, so we got to have a lot of it, right? I want you to desensitize yourself to these foods, right? Don't make them a big deal. The ice cream and the chocolate that someone mentioned, cake, pie, holiday stuff, right? Maybe even halasli, like the fish stew. I remember when we used to go to Hungary, my ex-husband would we would gorge ourselves at that time because he had so many memories of this food. And as soon as we arrived, literally got off the plane and got back to the house, there would be a whole smorgasbord spread of all these foods waiting for him. And he would just gorge himself because he truly thought that they were inaccessible otherwise. Now, he didn't cook and his mom was all the way in Hungary, so they kind of were inaccessible to him a bit, but it doesn't mean he couldn't learn how to make them. And so over the years, he actually did learn how to make them. And there was many of them that we ended up learning how to make ourselves. Whenever we think a food is scarce and that we can't have it, we are gonna overdo it. Okay. So Lori says, if I have a pot of tapioca in front of me, I can eat the whole thing. If I'm given a shot glass of it, I'm so happy to get that taste. Great thoughts, right? I mean, it's that, right? It's the first bite. That's the best one. So it's the idea of, can we just appreciate the food for what it is, which is nothing more than a delicious food with butter, which is dairy, and salt and sugar, right? That's why apple pie tastes amazing. I try to have an apple pie without salt, sugar, or dairy. It would just be eating an apple, right? I mean, it's delicious and everything, but it's not apple pie. Why is apple pie so good? It's the salt and the sugar and the butter. Why is bread so good? It's the flour and the salt and perhaps the sugar or the butter that we're using on it, right? It's not the bread. Have bread that doesn't have salt in it, terrible, right? Have any of these foods, they're all basically made of the same stuff anyway. It's just that apple pie has apples in it. Bread has the same ingredients, it's just bread though, right? But what we're actually liking there is not the pie itself, it's the sugar and the fat in there. similar to the stuffing. Why do we like the stuffing? It's not the bread and the celery, and because you could have bread and celery and it would be really boring. What's nice about it is all of those meaty juices coming into the stuffing, and the salt and perhaps the oil and the butter and things used to cook the turkey that soak into it. Or if you're buying stovetop, they just add that stuff in there as ingredients. It's the salt and the oil and things that we like. It's the same, having stuffing is the same thing as having bread with butter and maybe a carrot or celery or something. It's the same thing. It's just the salt and everything makes it taste different. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Salt, sugar, and butter by themselves are disgusting. Nobody would eat those by themselves, but it's the combination, and flour as well. So let's think about Thanksgiving. What are the foods that we love, right? Cranberry sauce, turkey, stuffing, maybe the green bean casserole, macaroni and cheese, the pies, the desserts. If you really break it down, that's only a set of about 7 or 8 ingredients in all of those foods. If you break them down, there might be some vegetables here and there that add, and some fruits that add a little bit more numbers of ingredients. But the true ingredients that we actually like from all of those foods, I mean, try to have a turkey. Try to cook a turkey without butter or salt and then eat it without salt or gravy or whatever. Why do we like it? It's the same foods as everything we eat every day. It's just that these ones we've created a bunch of excitement about, right? And that's right. The salt and oil by themselves is just disgusting. So what I'm doing here is helping you see these foods in a true way, in a real way, not just the nostalgia that we have added to it. Because the idea is, gosh, I love apple pie so much. That's actually not true. It's actually not true. When we think of apple pie, I love the nostalgia. The sentence is, I love the nostalgia that I have assigned to apple pie. That's why we love apple pie, right? Apple pie is the same as any other pie. Sugar, fat, it's delicious, right? It's yummy. But why don't we eat desserts? Why don't we overeat desserts at other times compared to that one? Because that one we've tied so much to. So the first step here, you guys, is to make these things not so exciting. So I've done some of this for you today, but also just picking it apart and seeing what your thoughts are about it. Like, why do we have so much tied on Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever? Why is there so much tied there? Because we miss people, right? That's one of the main reasons that we love to do Thanksgiving and all these different holidays. We miss people, right? And so we've tied memories to food. But imagine if we didn't tie memories to food and we started to extricate those a bit on purpose. And if we saw the food as just food, because guess what? That's what it is. Food is just a pile of fruit, flour, salt, oil, meat, sugar. That's it. It's just a pile of that, and they just cook it in different ways. That's what food is. It's not comforting. Food is just, blended up fruits and stuff. It's not comforting. It's just food. So when we see that stuff on our plate, we want to start thinking about what it actually is, which is a means to an end. It's a caloric thing that we can take in that will keep our body running. That's all it is. There's nothing else that it can do for you. It cannot comfort you. It does not comfort you. You comfort you. Okay? No, that's right. I've enjoyed the taste of the fat, oil, and foods before. No lie. Every time we've ever enjoyed a food in a big way, it's because of the oil and the fat and the sugar. But that's all it is, right? Try to have the turkey, the stuffing, the pie, the cranberry sauce, all that without salt and sugar. Oh, disgusting. Nobody would ever want to have that Thanksgiving dinner, right? So we do enjoy that, but understanding it that that's what we're actually enjoying. It's just the salt and the fat and the sugar. And do we want to be overeating on these things all the time or whatever? No, we don't want to, just like all the other days. Why overeat at Thanksgiving? What's the big deal about Thanksgiving? It's just a Thursday, right? But do we understand that we manufacture nostalgia in here? We're actually manufacturing it on that day. We're going to a place on purpose in order to have that feeling. But that's all it is. The food doesn't do that for us, okay? Any thoughts, questions? That's what I have for today. I want to just leave some space for some thoughts, questions. Let's see if I have anything else. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about a little program that I'm putting on. I'm not sure if I can gonna get any takers for it, but it's just a 6-week program that we're gonna do here, starting anytime, whenever you're ready. It's a private coaching thing for 6 weeks. You will get 6 weeks of private coaching with me. We're gonna probably spread it out over a little bit more than 6 weeks, so it's gonna hit some of the holidays here. In order to get you on track, get you losing a little bit of weight, and get you understanding how to do this on your own. It's called the Lose 7 Pounds in 6 Weeks program. Basically, we're going to do it together, and it's going to be private, so just me and you. The cost of that is $1,500, which is a much smaller package than I usually would sell. And it's going to give you the perfect start. You will lose some weight. You will reduce your food noise and understand how to start to create this, what I'm talking about here, start to create this result in your own life of being able to end overeating and things like that. I'm going to put a link for this in the comment section. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. Okay, so I just want to let you know about that. We will be getting your weight loss going. You can go here if you'd like to sign up for it. We're going to start immediately as soon as you're ready. So we'll get your weight loss going, guaranteeing weight loss for you, but not just weight loss, guaranteeing a feeling of peace around food and understanding how to actually keep apart the idea. Hold on, that didn't go through. 1 sec. On Facebook, there it is. Yeah, I think it went through. Okay, so I put that link there in the comment section for you to be able to go get in on that with me if you like. We're going to do 1 call per week, and we're probably going to spread it out a little bit. The calls are going to be 45 to 60 minutes long, and in those calls, I'm going to give you access to my Quick Start program, which is going to get you going with weight loss and healthy eating and things like that. You know, over the years, I noticed that if you want to do eat to live or nutritarian, or you want to eat really healthily, it's never the what you're going to eat that's the problem. It's what's going on in here. That's the problem. So that's what we're going to straighten out in the 6 weeks. We will talk about what your challenges are, how to overcome them, and then you will become more peaceful with food. You'll be able to lose the weight, and you'll know how to keep going. Okay, so consider that. It's $1,500. Usually I charge, $4,000, $5,000 for a 6-month program. So this is a really good way to get in with me privately if you're interested. Okay. And that's right. Teresa says, new thoughts. What non-food related traditions I can create with grands that involve movement? Beautiful. Yeah. So creating new traditions. What a great way of using this brain power that we have. Another thought I'd love to offer is I create nostalgia, right? With my thoughts. I can create closeness with my mom. And, I think in my dad specifically too. My dad isn't with us. He's been gone for 12, 13 years now. And the relationship with my dad continues on, though, right? So while it might not be a 2-way relationship, it can still be a 1-way relationship. But it kind of always has been anyway, even when he was around. It was my thoughts about him that created my relationship to him, right? Like my love of him, my respect, and just all those things about him, our friendship. That's what created our relationship. And so I can still have that relationship with him even though he's gone, right? The other day, something came up. I don't remember what it was. And I thought about how he would smile if he knew about the thing or whatever. And I thought to myself, well, I kind of just did have that moment with him. Even though he wasn't receiving it on the other end, at least I could still have that nice thought about him. So on these holidays and during these times, we can actually have these thoughts about our loved ones just with the power of our own brain. And we can create that familial love, being part of community. We can have that feeling without them having to physically be present and without having to gorge on different foods, right? Okay. Okay, cool. So if you guys want to join the Lose 7 Pounds in 6 Weeks program with me, learn how to make food a non-issue, stop your binge eating, feeling more in control, feel free to go there, sales.nourishyourlifestyle.com/lose7. And you can sign up for that with me. There's going to be 2 payment plans. So either we do $1,500 up front or we do 2 payments of $800. Okay. To make that a little easier. If you want a different payment plan, let me know. We can try to talk about that too. So if you ever wanted to do private coaching, this is the time. And after I get, I'm saying 5 people in this program, of course it's private. I'm going to be shutting it down, and then we'll go back into regular private coaching. Okay. That's right. And so Teresa says, yes, I think of my dad all the time, how much he would love my grandchildren, his great grandchildren, how much the baby looks like my mom. I think of her enjoying him. It's a one-way relationship, but like you said, it feels alive still in my thoughts and heart. That's right. And it will always continue to be alive, right? Like I didn't always live in the same city. I don't live in the same city as my mom, but she's still alive. And we still have, like yesterday, I didn't have time to call her, but man, was I thinking about her a lot and loving her and thinking about how much I appreciate who she is and being there for me and things like that. And then we did get to call her, and it was great, but it was also great to have some nice thoughts about her, right? They were just as wonderful, the ones that I created, as well as the ones that she created when she was actually there. Okay. Yes, Yolanda. Thank you. She says, I said this earlier, but I can appreciate your point on the thoughts. This applies to non-food items that give us comfort. Absolutely. Okay, good. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your feedback there. Hey, my mom was on the Instagram. I love you, Mom. And that's it for now. So I hope you guys can see how it's true that there's no such thing as comfort food. It's all in your head, which is great news because it means you can change it and you can create your own comfort when you need it. Okay. That's it for now. I love you all. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next week and the next one. And I hope you have a great week. I'm around by email, and I hope you guys join the lose 7 pounds in 6 weeks thing with me. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, Carrie. And also, good point, Teresa. Let me put that up here as well. If y'all are looking for a way to get in with me for free right now, let me make a new banner for this. So it's, hold on, let me write it. Binge free. Okay. So you go to school.com/binge free. You can make a profile there. This community is totally free. It's more interactive than any community I've had before because it does like gamification where you can get points for interacting and things like that. And it's where I'm going to be moving everything over to. So if y'all want to have like a free way of interacting and going through this stuff and working on it, you can join me there at school.com/binge free. You will love, if you haven't used School before, you will love it. It's very interactive and fun. And yeah, that's the place to be. Okay. So you're welcome. Thank you so much, you guys, for being here. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.